He's my friend. So was I.
Well, what in the crossover is this? Somehow the Russos did the impossible and gave us an Avengers movie before Infinity War came out. Except this time everyone's had enough of each other's whinging because the government are having a sook about their cities getting wrecked by Earth's mightiest heroes. Yeah, sorry for saving the world from, you know, the alien invasion, or the terrorist group from earlier in the movie, and the secret Nazis that snuck into your government. And let's not forget about Ultron going mental. Okay, that one's Tony's fault. Well, I guess the Russo brothers are powerful enough to do whatever they want in their Marvel movies, and if Disney have a problem with that, all the Russos have to say is, or what, you'll fire me? And then Disney will have flashbacks to that time they fired James Gunn, and fearing the Russos will join the gun in the DCU. But anyway, the Russos came back for the third entry in the Captain America films and are tackling the Civil War storyline this time around. And seeing the amount of star power and introducing new faces to the MCU, I don't know about you, but I'm 80% sure this is the point in the franchise where the movies start to get more and more expensive. But with that being said, I'm Azza the Pop Culture Viking, and with spoilers ahead, let's take a pop culture look into Captain America Civil War.
Suit up.
In March 2014, Anthony and Joe Russo confirmed that they had signed on to return as directors for the third Captain America film, along with Chris Evans as Captain America, Kevin Feige as producer, and Christopher Marcus and Steve McFeely as screenwriters. Where in April 2014, Marvel announced a release date of May 6, 2016. Holy shit, this movie is nearly 10 years old. Can we just slow down for a bit, please? Joe Russo described the project as a continuation of the story from Captain America the Winter Soldier and labelled Civil War as a two-parter. Marcus and McFeely had worked on the screenplay since late 2013, while the Russo brothers began work in February 2014. Marvel offered to bring back the Russos thanks to the positive reaction to early test screenings of Captain America the Winter Soldier, and were given the offer to direct Captain America Civil War 3 months before the release of the Winter Soldier. Marcus and McFeely stated that they were midway through the first draft of the film, on which principal photography was expected to begin in April 2015. The writers also stated that they were looking to make the tone of the film an amalgam of the first Avenger and the Winter Soldier, with the Russos liking it to be a psychological thriller and using films like Seven, Fargo, and The Godfather as influences, along with westerns and Brian De Palma films.
Say hello to my little friend!
The Russos also stated that a good portion of Civil War is actually funnier than Winter Soldier, with a more comedic tone and lighter moments throughout. The Russos stated that the film would be set a couple of years after the Winter Soldier and would continue to focus on Steve Rogers' relationship with Bucky Barnes, as well as the political themes related to Captain America. Anthony Russo stated that the characters were invented for an explicitly political purpose, so it's hard to get away from that nature. The Russos also said that it would be bringing some new elements to the table that will give us a twist on Winter Soldier. The Russos were ecstatic with the first draft of the screenplay submitted by Marcus and McFeely and stated that the film's title would be announced in a month or so at most, and that the concept and title of the film came from Feige. In September, Joe expanded by saying that the film would have another big idea that alters the universe as a whole in some way. Similar to S.H.I.E.L.D. falling in The Winter Soldier, the rest of the film, such as the characters, story, and tone, would be left open to the Russos and writers' interpretation, with Joe Russo stating that the theme of the film was betrayal, calling it extremely emotional.
Sometimes I want to punch you in your perfect teeth.
Now, when it was made official that the next Captain America film would be focusing on the Civil War storyline, negotiations started with members of the MCU to feature in the film, as the comic had some major characters involved like Iron Man and Captain America. In October 2014, Marvel announced final negotiations for Robert Downey Jr. to return as Tony Stark as Iron Man. But the Russos did have a backup plan with using the Mad Bomber storyline from the comics, which was used in the Agent Carter TV show, by the way, but that would have been the storyline for the third Captain America film if they couldn't get Robert Downey Jr. to feature in the film. As if Disney can't afford Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man again. But the original drafts didn't involve the Civil War storyline at all. Marvel just basically announced that the next Captain America film would be Civil War and was to start Marvel's Phase 3. Kevin Feige asked the writers to work around the original draft for the script to include Civil War with their original ideas. Apparently the Civil War story had been on and off the tables for Marvel Studios, and it was hard since not only the comic came out in 2006 and 2007, but this was also before the MCU was established. The Russos added the ideas of instead of focusing being political, but rather giving personal reasons for the Avengers to be on different sides of the topic. Especially it was a good time to adapt the storyline, as there have been several MCU films that dealt with world-ending events, so dealing with the world's reaction action was the next step. One idea that the executives at Marvel Entertainment thought of changing in the original script was Captain America and Iron Man coming to blows at the end of the film and wanted the Avengers to unite to fight against Zemo and the super soldiers at Hydra's base in Siberia instead. But the Russos were not happy with the idea and thought, fuck that, with Joe Russo saying, "There's nothing interesting about that film. We're not here to make that movie. We're not interested in telling another superhero story." Kevin Feige supported the Russos, who were going to leave the film if the changes were forced upon them. This prompted Walt Disney Studios head Alan F. Horn to back the Russos in making the film as originally intended, and led to oversight of Marvel Studios being moved from Marvel Entertainment to Walt Disney Studios in 2015. Damn, the Russos were definitely not f***ing around with the executives' bullshit. With the Civil War film ready to go, while Iron Man was guaranteed to come back for Civil War, cast members and characters from the Winter Soldier like Captain America, Falcon, Bucky Barnes, Black Widow, Agent 13 and Crossbones would return, along with other MCU cast and characters from other films like Ant-Man, which was made official at the end credits for Ant-Man 2015, The Scarlet Witch, War Machine, Hawkeye, Vision and General Ross. Where have you been since The Incredible Hulk 2008? Now, as for other characters joining the MCU family, actor Daniel Brühl joined the cast in an unspecified role, which turned out to be Helmut Zemo. The first trailer confirmed that Black Panther would make his MCU debut before his own solo film even came out, which was a surprise for everyone when the first trailer was released. And if you think that was a shock, you should have seen the internet in 2016 punching through their laptops in excitement when the second trailer revealed that Spider-Man would make his MCU debut. So for those who don't follow the MCU and are for some reason watching this, Sony at the time, or maybe they still do, owned the film rights to Spider-Man and the Spider-Man characters since 1999 and made multiple Spider-Man films before and during the MCU. Now this was back when Marvel were filing for bankruptcy before the 10-movie deal which we talked about in our Captain America the First Avenger episode, but following the November 2014 Sony hack, emails between Sony Pictures Entertainment were released stating that Marvel wanted to include Spider-Man in the film, but talks between the studios concerning this were believed to have broken down. But in February 2015, Sony Pictures and Marvel Studios reached a licensing deal to use Spider-Man in the MCU film. I mean, this was such a shocking surprise for Marvel and Spider-Man fans that they couldn't hear anyone over the sound of their throbbing erections. Okay, now that's all explained, let's have a look at the casting for the film. We of course get the return of the cast reprising their roles from the previous Captain America film, including Chris Evans as Captain America, Sebastian Stan as Bucky Barnes, Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson, aka the Falcon. He isn't Captain America at this point yet, hold your horses. Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow, Emily Van Camp as Agent 13, and Frank Grillo as Crossbones. Along with fellow MCU cast members returning, including Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark aka Iron Man, Paul Rudd as Ant-Man, Don Cheadle as War Machine, Elizabeth Olsen as the Scarlet Witch, Paul Bettany as Vision, Jeremy Renner as Hawkeye, and William Hurt as Thaddeus Ross. Along with some new faces joining the MCU, including Martin Freeman as Everett K. Ross, Daniel Brühl as Helmut Zemo, Chadwick Boseman as T'Challa aka Black Panther, and Tom Holland as Peter Parker aka Spider-Man. Other minor characters include John Slattery and Hope Davis as Howard and Martha Stark, Kerry Condon as the voice of Friday, John Carney as T'Chaka, Florence Kanshamba as Ao, T'Challa's bodyguard, and Marissa Tomei as Aunt May. And a couple of cameos including Afri Witter, who would appear in the Luke Cage TV series, Jim Rash from Community, which the Russo brothers worked on the TV show, and of course the famous Stan Lee cameo as a FedEx delivery guy.
Are you Tony Stank?
Yes, this is Tony Stank. You're in the right place. Thank you for that.
Principal photography began on April 27, 2015 at the Pinewood Atlanta studios under the working title Spudnik. Guessing they ran out of Frozen-based codenames. Other filming locations in the Atlanta metropolitan area included the Buckhead district of Atlanta, the Peachtree Christian Church in Midtown and downtown Atlanta, including an area near Phillips Arena known as the Gulch, which served as the market in Lagos, along with Norcross, Georgia as another location for filming. Car company Porsche used their headquarters in Atlanta at Aerotropolis Atlanta, which serves as the Avengers headquarters in the film, and the Atlanta Civic Center, which serves as the IFID laboratory in Lagos. The interiors also doubled as MIT, and a third part was used in a Berlin location. While Chad Stahelski, David Leitch, and the Winter Soldier stuntman Spyro Mateos were second unit directors. Hey, when you need an action sequence done right, you hire the blokes from the John Wick franchise. By the end of June, filming reached the halfway mark, with production moving to Germany in early August. Filming locations in Germany included the Olympic Stadium, Potsdamer Platz, Internationals Congress Centrum Berlin, and Messe Berlin, along with the Leipzig/Halle airport, with any interior studio work being done at Babelsberg Studios. Additional filming also took place in Puerto Rico, Norway, and Iceland, with principal photography wrapped on August 22nd, 2015, along with a few reshoots in mid to late January 2016. Captain America Civil War was the first film to use IMAX Axis digital 2D cameras made in partnership with ARRI, which was a custom version of the ARRI Alexa 6.5. There were discussions late in pre-production to shoot the entire film with the Alexa 6.5 cameras. However, because of how close it was to the start of shooting, as well as the idea of being such a large-scale undertaking, it was decided to only use them for the airport sequence, with the rest of the film being shot on ARRI Alexa XT digital cameras. Henry Jackman returned from The Winter Soldier to do the musical score for the sequel. He found the movie to be tonally different from the previous one, with the film having a more symphonic and orchestral score. Henry also not only made the score, as he explained, somewhat operatic and almost classical in its style, he also added different themes to some of the newer characters being introduced, like Spider-Man, Black Panther, and Zemo. Henry composed the new main theme for the film to represent the Civil War in order to make a generic theme to balance everything out. Henry Jackman also wrote a thriller theme that appears whenever the mystery surrounding Zemo's plan is explored, which was inspired by the works of Jerry Goldsmith.
Mission report, December 16, 1991.
Nearly 20 visual effects studios worked on Captain America Civil War. Jesus Christ, 20 studios. The companies included Industrial Light and Magic, Lola VFX, Method Studios, Luma Pictures, DNEG, Image Engine, Trickster, Cinesight, and The Third Floor. The Russos used various methods for planning, and they used each department for what it does best. Lola VFX de-aged Robert Downey Jr. in the scene that involved a younger holographic version of himself. In order to perform the de-aging process for RDJ, Lola analysed footage from Robert's earlier movies at the target age that they wanted. Lola VFX said that it was a difficult process due to it being close to 4,000 frames, and that Robert Downey Jr. was moving his head from side to side multiple times during the scene. While tackling the de-aging for Robert Downey Jr., Lola also worked on the visual effects for the Vision. The Third Floor extensively pre-visualized the film, including the fight scene at the airport. The company visualized most of the major scenes in the film, some of which that were more story-driven and some that were more action-driven, while other companies focused on the early edits that were a combination of storyboards, previs, and stunt performance clips. While previs was used for the big action scenes that involved many digital characters. Method Studios, which worked on 440 shots, were responsible for the helicopter sequence in the middle of the film and the climactic fight between Iron Man, Bucky, and Captain America. The original intent for the helicopter sequence was to place the scene next to the Paul Loeb house. However, the location was not allowed to be shown in the film, resulting in Method needing to create a full CGI background. For the climactic fight, one of the challenges for Method was to get the colours of the Iron Man suit correct, opting to go for a more classic Iron Man look versus the really glossy car paint look that Iron Man had in the previous Avengers movies. ILM was primarily responsible for the visual effects during the large-scale fight sequences at the airport, along with creating a digital asset for all characters. VFX supervisor Russell Earl stated that the 20-minute scene grew to be an almost fully digital sequence. ILM explained that they basically removed 90% of everything that was shot with the actors being lifted from the background. So basically any characters that weren't enhanced with CGI like Iron Man, War Machine, and Vision were absent from the scene. Even characters like Spider-Man and Black Panther who had actual costumes were removed when CGI was needed for those characters. Luma Pictures, who also worked on The Winter Soldier, was assigned with completing shots of Bucky's arm and his metal brainwashing chair. They also worked on Bucky's escape from the Task Force lobby and designed Iron Man's new hybrid nanotech armor, which was a homage to the character's bleeding edge armor from the comics, with their work totaling approximately 200 shots. Spider-Man was also a digital double for all of his appearances, featuring his finalized suit. On set, Tom Holland wore a temporary Spider-Man suit that featured raised webbing and a different spider emblem or a motion capture suit. I tell you what, with all those companies, that's a lot of work for a Hollywood movie. Hope everyone got bonuses at the end of the year. In January 2016, the Russo brothers said that this has been the easiest post-processor they have ever had for a film, and everyone was very happy with where the movie was. The tricky thing is the effects, because it was a very complicated movie, and that there were some big action sequences for the film, with the effects on a much larger scale than the work they did on The Winter Soldier. The Russos even stated that the studio had very high standards and at the point where they wanted to kill each other, but the Russos knowing they will have the movie done and ready in 2.5 months. Kevin Feige added that Black Panther director Ryan Coogler contributed some dialogue from Black Panther in several scenes during reshoots. But even after all the complicated drama from the studios at the beginning, the film managed to get all the necessary shoots it needed, and the film was completed in April 4th, 2016, which at the time of recording, the film will be coming up to its 10-year anniversary. Oh my god, stop it, passage of time, stop it! Now, before we continue, if you thought Civil War was overloaded with characters, well, the filmmakers almost took advice from Kylo Ren and almost added more characters to the already overcrowded movie. Other characters that were planned to be involved in Captain America Civil War were either thought about, cut from the story, or even filmed with some scenes and was never used. Mark Ruffalo was planned to reprise his role as Bruce Banner, aka the Hulk, in Civil War, but thanks to the ending of Avengers Age of Ultron, the studio wanted to not reveal too much of the Hulk's whereabouts until Thor Ragnarok. Plus, the studio also thought that if Hulk joined the side, the fight would have ended very quickly, so the studio had to think about who would be involved in the conflict very carefully.
Puny God.
Gwyneth Paltrow was reported to have joined the film for reshoots to reprise her role as Pepper Potts in January 2016. However, Gwyneth's contract was finished after Iron Man 3 in April 2016, so it was decided to not have her character appear in Civil War, and is only name dropped to explain that Pepper and Tony broke up to add emotion to the scene. Even the General Ross character would have turned into the Red Hulk in Civil War, but the Russos decided not to include the Red Hulk as they wanted the character to have a proper backstory and didn't want to waste the opportunity in an already crowded movie, which we'll finally get to see in Captain America Brave New World, with Harrison Ford taking over the General Ross role and debuting as the Red Hulk after the original actor William Hurt unfortunately passed away in 2022, which is how I picture what Harrison Ford looks like when he gets a bit cranky about bloody Star Wars questions.
We're outside the law on this one. So if you come with us, you're a wanted man.
Yeah, well, what else is new?
But now here's the part where I give my personal review after a rewatch. In the third Captain America film, the Avengers are left divided and against each other as the US government wants to monitor and control Earth's mightiest heroes after the consequences of world events. But a situation leads to Bucky being framed where the Captain must help clear Bucky's name while clashing with Tony Stark. Now, if I was to rank the three Captain America films, Civil War would be a close second. And calm down, that doesn't mean that I think it's bad. Because the hype train leading up to the Captain America film was bloody bonkers when I saw this at the cinemas. And yes, we'll get to that. And that's because the movie had quite a lot going on in 2016. It had competition with Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, it was the start of Phase 3 in the MCU, and it had to be equal or improve upon the second Captain America film while tackling the Civil War storyline. And yeah, it did a bloody good job at that, with the marketing campaign basically saying to everyone, let's see our favourite Marvel superheroes beat the living piss out of each other WWE style. Especially seeing Captain America vs Iron Man, which is up there with the best hero versus hero fights in superhero history. But before I talk about the other points and plots in this movie, the lead up to Captain America and Tony Stark has been done so well between the two since Marvel's The Avengers back in 2012. Adding bits of that tension from the previous two Avengers movies and seeing both superheroes' political differences displayed in the film helps with that development. Like Steve Rogers feeling that the government does not realise the limitations our heroes are put on when the world needs them, and Tony Stark feeling the guilt and consequences from their actions. This is the best of the characters in my opinion, both together and separate. We get more information about Tony Stark and his parents' relationship, Tony feeling the guilt of what happened to innocent people that unfortunately died during the moments like the Battle of New York and Sokovia, and Steve Rogers drawing the line of what the government can and can't do while dealing with personal problems like snapping at anyone that talks about Bucky and the death of Peggy Carter. And look, Tony and Steve are just like us when two people have a difference of opinion until it gets heated and we start having a punch on down at the pub. Because one is a Gen X billionaire with daddy issues and the other is a massive boomer who doesn't respect the government's authority. As for the rest of the film with the story, plot and characters, some are done well but some not as good as the Winter Soldier. From the government having to step in and control the Avengers after citizens of Wakanda get killed during the Lagos heist, the Winter Soldier getting framed for performing a terrorist attack where the King of Wakanda gets killed and leads to T'Challa on a revenge mission as the next Black Panther. Meanwhile, somebody else is pulling the strings behind the scene, which adds more tension to each member of the Avengers. And yeah, this is basically an Avengers movie within a Captain America movie, so other characters get an opportunity to get explored. The Avengers characters have great moments to shine, with the Vision, Hawkeye, Ant-Man and War Machine having more to do, along with more development like Black Widow while exploring the relationship between the Vision and the Scarlet Witch. Oh yeah, remember when the Scarlet Witch had an accent in these movies?
You're pulling your punches.
But I love the bromance triangle between the Captain, Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Can you move your seat up? No.
Especially the funny moments of how Sam and Bucky hate each other, but they have to work together.
You couldn't have done that earlier?
I hate you.
But look, can you blame him with Captain America still being too bloody sexy? Even adding in new superheroes before they even had their own solo films like Black Panther and Spider-Man. Tom Holland was a great choice as the famous web slinger, being an actual teenager this time around while being his quippy self in a serious situation.
You have a metal arm? That is awesome, dude!
Plus, I love seeing him already established in the MCU and not having an origin story explained like in previous Spider-Man movies because we've already seen that multiple times before. And god, that Spidey suit looks so gorgeous, doesn't it? But having the Black Panther character into the story was done perfectly. Having the character lost his father during a bomb attack and out on a revenge mission to kill Bucky Barnes, only to realize that revenge blinds people and that it can overtake someone, was a great character moment for the King of Wakanda, and the character was played amazingly by the late Chadwick Boseman, who we've lost way too soon.
In my culture, death is not the end. It's more of a stepping off point.
But Chadwick Boseman has left such an amazing impression on the character, and that Black Panther suit looks just as good as the Spider-Man suit. Just good superhero suits all around. Actually, I changed my mind on my favourite Captain America suit. That Civil War suit has a great balance of colours. Other characters to mention is the reappearance of Sharon Carter, who definitely feels like a more important ally compared to her previous role in The Winter Soldier, the introduction of Agent Everett Ross, who we see later in MCU films, and General Ross makes a return as a senator now, who we haven't seen since The Incredible Hulk. And the villain behind all the events happening in the film, Zemo, is a great villain that's more behind the scenes and manipulating compared to a more physical presence than other villains. Now, while Zemo's plan can be a little bit complicated and also so many things could have gone wrong, but he was lucky everything went according to plan. Having the reveal that he is from Sokovia and that his family died during the events of Age of Ultron and wanting to destroy the Avengers within themselves is a great character motive, which is very understandable. But throughout the movie, I did feel like I had to be reminded that Zemo was the villain when he appears, because I kept forgetting about him and his plan because I was too focused on Captain America and Iron Man having a whinge throughout the movie. But Bucky Barnes, aka the Winter Soldier's backstory getting explored more in this movie, having moments that he was active during the 90s, at least he's working for the Russians like in the comics this time around. We see what happens when Bucky is brainwashed into being the world's deadliest assassin with a little red book that contains code words to unlock the Winter Soldier, along with extra details that Bucky isn't the only Winter Soldier, where we get flashbacks of other Super Soldier sleeper agents that could be used at any time. Which, yeah, would be bloody terrifying having a maniac filled with superhero steroids coming to rip your head off. Now, the action sequences, again, I hope Disney took notes in my Winter Soldier episode because we need guns and stunt work back in our MCU movies. Although there are some noticeable green screen backgrounds which loses half a point, some of the action is definitely an improvement from the Winter Soldier. It's so satisfying seeing armed mercenaries and special forces soldiers getting punched, kicked, and bloody launched across a room or staircase. And it looks like it actually hurts. Even having the danger again of our heroes getting shot at, flung across the room from an explosion, and nearly dying in a dangerous situation adds more suspense. Best examples are seeing Captain America slam to the ground so hard after having a bomb going off in his face, Black Widow using a bloke as a shield after having a grenade dropped in front of her from crossbones, and seeing War Machine just slam to the ground after getting hit by accident from Vision while in the air and seeing how badly injured he is. I mean, Jesus Christ, one of our heroes could have actually died in this movie. But with the action sequences, there are just so many standouts, from the Lagos heist, Bucky's chase between Black Panther and Captain America, Bucky's escape while he's brainwashed and fighting off members of the Avengers. But the biggest action sequences are the airport fight in Germany, where we see each hero using their powers, strengths, and abilities, and seeing dream matches between each member of the Avengers. From Spider-Man's web swinging, strength and abilities, more of Black Panther's strength and agility, Ant-Man turns into Giant Man out of nowhere, like holy shit. It's a nice break from all the serious moments from the film to have a couple of quips and laughs until it gets bloody serious again.
Does anyone have any orange slices?
Especially when we see some of our heroes that are not wanting to hurt each other, while other heroes are just focusing on one particular character. Cough, Black Panther. But the final moments of the movie, of the showdown between Captain America and Iron Man, oh my god, it's just chef's kiss. While yes, the Winter Soldier and Captain America do team up to fight against Iron Man, having those moments of Iron Man standing toe-to-toe with two super soldiers and adapting to using his suit to have a moment's chance against either Captain America or the Winter Soldier is amazing. Soldier versus billionaire, strength versus technology, Captain America versus Iron Man. This is a movie Batman v Superman should have had. But the surprise twist that kicks off the fight between Captain America and Iron Man is an absolute shock. Where we find out that not only Zemo killed the super soldiers that are frozen that Steve and Bucky were worried about, we also get the reveal that the car crash from the beginning of the film was the same car crash that Tony's parents were killed in that were mentioned in previous MCU films. But the shocking reveal that Howard and Martha Stark survived the crash but ended up murdered by the Winter Soldier, and it's bloody brutal. As for the final moments, we see Captain America on the run as a wanted fugitive, Tony learns the truth about Zemo and his plan, Black Panther learns the truth and offers to help Bucky recover after losing his arm and to prevent the Winter Soldier from hurting anyone again, Zemo is captured and arrested for his crimes, and the Avengers disbanded, but Tony having a reassurance that Captain America will be available if they need him, and along with the bonus tease in the end credits of having Black Panther and Spider-Man as the next ones in the MCU to have their own solo films after the events of Civil War. Now, after 3 movies, going from the golden age of superhero films to spy espionage thrillers to hero versus hero action spectacular, the setup, showdowns, and plot worked for the 3rd installment and helped finish off an amazing trilogy. While it wasn't the last time we see Steve Rogers in the MCU, Civil War was a great way of finishing off Captain America's time in his own adventures while still having a part in other MCU films. Even though this was labelled as Avengers 2.0, it was a nice sneak peek to see what the Russo brothers were capable of when making Avengers movies. But this is still Captain America's movie, his story, and his trilogy.
I could do this all day.
Anyway, those are my thoughts on Captain America Civil War. Let's see what the fans and critics think. Well, you guessed it, Captain America Civil War was a massive hit with Rotten Tomatoes score of 90% for critics and with an audience score of 89%. The website label Captain America Civil War begins the next wave of Marvel movies with an action-packed superhero blockbuster boasting a decently non-cartoonish plot and the courage to explore thought-provoking themes. Metacritic scored the film 75 out of 100 based on 53 critics, indicating genuinely favourable reviews. CineScore gave the film an A grade on an A+ to F scale. Justin Chan of Variety called it the most mature and substantive picture to have yet emerged from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Most critics have praised the film for its action, use of expanding characters, and felt it being a solid entry in the MCU to please fans. But the negatives of some of those reviews included comments like it felt like an Avengers movie instead of a Captain America film, didn't understand why the Avengers were on opposite sides, and Mick LaSalle of the San Francisco Chronicle thinks the fight scenes were a bit flat. I think this critic fell asleep watching this movie. However, out of the negative criticisms, Mark Miller, who wrote the Civil War comics, said that he felt the movie had a good opening 20 minutes, but can't remember what the movie was about. He also felt the film lacked levity, especially considering the Russo brothers' background in comedy. Fans, on the other hand, have this film as part of their MCU favourites. And look, we know what MCU fans are like. The franchise is like your favourite pizza joint. When it's hot, it's good, and even when it's cold, it's still good. But with Civil War, despite its flaws, it's still an entertaining movie that fans love revisiting when they need that MCU fix. As for the box office, with a budget of $250 million, the film made $1.1 billion at the box office. The film grossed $408.1 million in the US and Canada, and $745.2 million in other territories, for a worldwide total of $1.153 billion. The film also became the fourth MCU film in the franchise to make over $1 billion. By May 10, 2016, the film had grossed $737.8 million, surpassing the entire theatrical gross of its predecessor, Captain America: The Winter Soldier, which not only became the fourth highest grossing superhero movie of all time, but was also the highest grossing movie of 2016. And while Disney Studios had a killer year in 2016, as 5 of their movies were the highest grossing films of 2016, which included Captain America Civil War at the top spot, Rogue One: A Star Wars Story, Finding Dory, Zootopia, and The Jungle Book. As for other superhero competition, Captain America was up against Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, which was released in March 2016. Despite Batman v Superman's negative critical response and eventual fan following, Batman v Superman earned $874.4 million at the box office, becoming the 7th highest grossing film of 2016. But when Captain America Civil War was released in May thanks to the $1.1 million earnings at the box office, Captain America crushed Batman v Superman, earning over $280 million more than its DC competitor. As for the marketing merchandise, which was bloody mental in the mid-2010s, in early July 2015, Marvel began multiple viral marketing campaigns, which started with 2015's Ant-Man featuring Leslie Bibb, reprising her role from the Iron Man films as journalist Christine Everhart, reporting for the fake news program WHIS Newsfront about the events leading up to the film, along with the post-credits for Ant-Man 2015 teasing that he would return in Captain America Civil War. Other viral campaigns included Marvel releasing their own version of the Facebook #FriendDay video, which ended with the photo torn in half of Captain America and Iron Man. And on Valentine's Day, Marvel created a status update for Captain America, showing his relationship status had changed to in a complicated relationship with Iron Man. The first footage for Captain America Civil War debuted in August 2015 at the D23 Expo, along with additional footage shown in September 2015 at the Asian Pop Comic Convention. The first trailer for the film debuted on Jimmy Kimmel Live on November 25, 2015, and within hours became the #1 trending topic on Twitter. The trailer was viewed 61 million times in the first 24 hours of release, surpassing the 34 million views for Avengers: Age of Ultron in 2014. And in 2016, a teaser debuted during Super Bowl 50 between the Denver Broncos and the Carolina Panthers, which received the most social media activity out of all the film trailers released that day, along with other trailers showing the participants of Team Captain America and Team Iron Man, and the official second trailer, which was viewed 95 million times within 24 hours. Captain America Civil War premiered at the Dolby Theatre in Hollywood, Los Angeles on April 12, 2016, and was screened at CinemaCon in 2016 on April 13th. The film's Southeast Asia premiere was held on April 21st at the Marina Bay Sands Resort in Singapore, while the European premiere took place at View Cinemas in Westfield, London on April 26. Marvel announced a competition event called Girls Reforming the Future Challenge, With Marvel partnering with the National Academy of Science program called the Science and Entertainment Exchange, along with Dolby Laboratories, Broadcom, and Synchrony Bank. The challenge aimed at females aged 15 to 18 years old in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics education fields to submit projects they feel can change the world and have far-reaching effects. 5 winners would attend the world premiere at the Dolby Theatre and receive a tour of Walt Disney Studios and a $500 savings account from Synchrony Bank, with one grand prize winner receiving an internship at Marvel Studios. And we haven't even gotten to the merchandise yet because there's bloody loads of them. Now, because this video is already long enough, I'm only going to be talking about the ones that stand out the most. LEGO released 4 main sets based off the Captain America Civil War movie, which included Crossbones Hazard Heist, Black Panther Pursuit, Tanker Truck Takedown, and Superhero Airport Battle. Hasbro produced multiple action figures, including store exclusives, as well as re-releases through the Marvel Legends series. Funko Pop Vinyls would release figures based off the films, which included standard versions, bobbleheads, and multi-packs of the characters. Hot Wheels released multiple cars with designs based off characters from the films. The cars would either be sold separately or in multi-pack bundles. Harley-Davidson will also continue the partnership with Captain America. I had a Harley, sorry, had to say it. The Winter Soldier rides a customized Harley-Davidson Street 750, while Black Widow rides an Iron 883, which both motorcycles are part of Harley-Davidson's Dark Custom lineup. Meanwhile, Audi would return to the Marvel partnership with our heroes driving Audi 2017 models like the R8 V10 Plus Coupe, SQ7, A4, and A7 Sportsback, which would be driven by multiple characters including Tony Stark, Agent 13, members of S.H.I.E.L.D., and Captain America. Black Panther would also be seen in an Audi, but would switch from Audi to Lexus in the Black Panther films. Marvel Comics would release multiple tie-in comics in the lead-up to the film, including a 4-issue comic prelude that adapted the events of Iron Man 3 and Captain America the Winter Soldier, and a prelude single-issue Infinity comic set between the Winter Soldier and Civil War, which told the story from the point of view of Bucky, Captain America, and Crossbones, and how they ended up in the beginning of Civil War. Captain America Civil War was released on digital download by Walt Disney Studios Home Entertainment on September 2nd, 2016, and on Blu-ray, Blu-ray 3D, and DVD on September 13, 2016. The digital and Blu-ray releases included behind-the-scenes features, audio commentary, deleted scenes, a blooper reel, and an exclusive preview of Doctor Strange. The digital release came with an exclusive mockumentary short film, Teen Thor, directed by Taika Waititi, which was originally screened at San Diego Comic-Con 2016 to promote and announce the next Thor film, Thor Ragnarok. The short film showed what Thor was up to during the events of Civil War, and if you haven't watched it and love what we do in the shadows, you need to watch it because it's bloody amazing. Captain America Civil War was released on 4K on April 23rd, 2019, with an IMAX enhanced version of the film made available on Disney Plus beginning of November 12th, 2021. Other special or limited editions included exclusive slipcovers, steelbooks, and 2 different Blu-ray covers where you can choose either Team Captain America or Team Iron Man. Now, before we wrap this up, let's talk about the future Captain America films and the possible return of Chris Evans as Captain America. No Johnny Storm cameos this time around. Now, Civil War was the conclusion to the Captain America trilogy, but Chris Evans' contract was coming to an end after Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. Chris Evans has mentioned that he was open to extending his contract and stating that he was not done yet, and said, "You never say never. I love the character. I don't know. It's not a hard no, but it's not an eager yes either." In the year 2021, Chris Evans was reportedly close to signing a deal to reprise his role as Captain America in at least one future project, and even in minor or side roles similar to Robert Downey Jr. after Iron Man 3. But that wasn't fully confirmed and only reported as Chris Evans responded to the report saying it was news to him. While Chris Evans has returned to the MCU in Deadpool and Wolverine in 2024, he only reprised his role as Johnny Storm in the 2000's Fantastic Four films.
Sorry, what now?
However, at the time of recording, it was reported that Chris Evans may actually reprise his role as Captain America in Avengers Doomsday, which is scheduled for release in 2026. Now, with the MCU still going strong despite its dip in quality with some films after Endgame, there's just no slowing down Kevin Feige from delivering blockbuster superhero films. Until the DCU catches up and are having war games with each other at the box office, until cinema goers start having a fucking aneurysm. But out of the original MCU Avengers, Captain America has been the best box office draw in terms of story, quality, and characters involved in the films. While other superhero trilogies in the MCU have had a mix of good, okay, or average films, Captain America gets better with each installment. And I would love to see Chris Evans return as Steve Rogers, aka Captain America, which at the time of recording is highly likely. But until then, those red, white, and blue shoes are filled with Anthony Mackie's Sam Wilson taking on the Captain's Shield thanks to the Falcon and the Winter Soldier TV show on Disney+, and along with the highly anticipated MCU film of 2025, Captain America Brave New World. But let me know your thoughts on Captain America Civil War. Which is your favourite out of the 3 films, and what other superhero films should I look into next? Feel free to let me know in the comments and I'll add them to the list. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next episode. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. It really does mean a lot. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you do want to see more videos like this, don't forget to hit that notification button. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if there's a movie that you guys would like me to look at, feel free to comment down below. Until then, I'm As the Pop Culture Viking, and always love pop culture.